All right, welcome back. Yeah, I stand with me saying thing, and I'm keeping strong to my promise that I'm going to watch at least one video about Africa. And this one right here is called Somali Rebellions Against British Colonialism, 1884 1949. So we're gonna watch this one and see what the deal is with that. This history, we're gonna watch it. Comment down below, drop your little comments and stuff. Not your little, just drop your comments in the bottom. Let's talk about the vibe. You understand what I'm saying? Thing and no craziness, no anger. All right. I'm Mr. Giant. Welcome back and ting and ting and ting. Let's YouTube and simmer. See what this one's all about.
British arrived in Somalia, they faced fierce resistance from Somali tribes and religious groups. The British colonized Somalia in 1884 and aimed to gain control of key ports in order to have easy access to the strategic port of Aden in Yemen. Britain wanted to use the northern Somali coast as a supplier of meat and other commodities for its Yemeni garrison, which was considered vital to the defense of British India. The coastal region and its immediate vicinity was controlled by the Ogaden and Herti Somali tribes, both of whom had repeatedly proved to be difficult to administer and were openly hostile to British rule. For example, in February 1893, the British administrator of Kismayu was nearly killed during an altercation while mediating a dispute between these two Somali tribes. Later in August of the same year, Somalis succeeded in seizing and destroying a British garrison near Kismayu, killing 30 British soldiers and Superintendent W.G. Hamilton, who died after he was shot in the heart. Shortly after the Italians and British occupied Somalia, they began to centralize the economy. This had a negative impact on Somalis because they had historically been nomadic people who rely on livestock for survival.
See, in another video, I mentioned that, and this happens everywhere. I mean, it's probably happened intertribal in Africa and other parts of the world. But one group goes in, takes control of another group, don't take the other group's culture into consideration, and then try to rule them. And nobody likes their culture ripped out of them. I don't care who you are. You know what I mean? The thing that you're used to, even as an immigrant, I still hang on to that Caribbean culture. You know what I mean? What you was raised with. And it's not so much that I want to make it's a nationalistic thing. It's just what I'm used to. You know what I mean? I had to get used to a bunch of stuff when I came here, and I did assimilate to a certain degree, but I still keep my Grenadian culture going, my Caribbean vibe going. So, to go into somebody's country and try to change them altogether, they're going to fight back. Nobody wants complete change to the point where they're not used to, where they're not going to have what they're used to. Everybody's going to put up a fight. That's understandable. It's some way of meeting in the middle. But you see, if you're going to occupy somebody's country, I guess the best way to keep them subservient is to take away what they know. So you live in a sort of peaceful, an uncomfortable peace, is what you call it. Or I would call it. Like there's nothing you can do. So you find happiness elsewhere. And I know we do that a lot in the third world, and of course it boils up to the point where boom, some countries take up arms, and it happened in my country a couple of times. Let's keep watching that. The sad part about it too, we were fighting against each other. The first one, 1979, Grenadians versus Grenadians. 1983, Grenadians versus Grenadians. So you see, it happens within the homogenous culture. You know what I mean? Hope I used that word right there. Somebody's going to correct me, right?
The lack of consistent rainfall and vegetation in Somalia required mobility in order for survival. Growing crops and being tied to a particular plot of land was not an option for most Somalis. Such economic problems increased discontent and hatred towards the British. By the year 1899, resistance to the British rule in Somalia was no longer confined to a few coastal tribes. In 1899, the religious leader Muhammad Abdullah Hassan, who was part of the Salihiyya Sufi order, called on all Somalis to wage jihad against the British. After returning from his pilgrimage to Mecca, Abdullah Hassan began recruiting followers for his anti-British movement. Within 2 years, he managed to recruit thousands of youths from various different Somali tribes. His movement was known as the Dervish movement. The main motivation of Muhammad Abdullah Hassan was religion. In a speech to his followers, he stated the following: "Unbelievers have invaded you in your country to corrupt you and to corrupt your religion, and to force you to believe their own religion."
Okay, I have to be delicate explaining this here, how I see it. This is how I see it. How about you just use the human understanding instead of like instigating religion? Maybe that's what they had to do then to get people into it, but you know what I mean? Because in no culture there's just one religion. There's always several religions. There might be a dominant one, but then if you're both being oppressed, there's going to be a tenuous at best alliance. But after that, they're going to fight against each other. You know what I'm saying? After they, if let's say they win over their freedom, or they get the country back, then the different factions go fight against each other. You see that over and over in history. You know what I mean? And but then once you put a main religion into it, the other side might start putting their religion into it, and then it becomes something of a religious war. People just lose their mind when it comes to stuff like that. You know what I mean? They're not fighting for humanity anymore. They're fighting for a religious belief. You know what I mean? To maintain that. I'm not saying it's wrong or right. I'm just saying, if I'm gonna go out there and fight and die, is going to be for the betterment of humankind, period. That's how I see it. You know what I mean? You can't cloak something into something for humankind if one section of the population is controlling the rebellion. Because after the success of the rebellion, they're going to have infighting. Just where the humans are. I mean, that's what happened in my country. You had the revolution. They were all buddies at first. Then one sector wanted to go full communist, and one other sector wanted to stay like a mild socialist state. Boom, boom, they start killing each other. It's just crazy. The alliance has to be a complete human thing. You look at it from a human perspective. That's my take on it. Don't cut my head off. Just stop for a minute and think about it.
This, along with various economic problems such as the problem of decreasing livestock, caused many to join his movement. The dervishes began to gain significant victories against the British. Their greatest victory was in the Battle of Jidali in 1913. In this battle, the British commander Richard Corfield was killed. However, Abdullah Hassan's religious extremism meant that he was hostile to other groups of Muslims in Somalia. It was not long before he declared many other Somalis as non-Muslims and declared a jihad on them. Any Somali who opposed them was declared a non-Muslim, and their property was seized, and in some cases their wives and children were killed and mutilated. This increased hatred towards Hassan and his movement, and increased support for the British. Eventually, because of his violence against Somalis, Abdullah Hassan began to lose support, and various religious leaders and tribal chiefs urged their followers to stop support for his jihad.
My point exactly. There's Somalia. What's the difference? Is it religion? Is it ethnicity? Comment down below, you know what I mean? Because I know some people watching these videos, they don't know the difference, you know what I mean? Or if there is a difference. So please comment down below, let me know. I'm trying to learn some stuff here now, you know, don't jump down my throat and take, you know what I mean? Well, I'll leave a link in the description to this video so you can go check it out yourself without my commentary. And take care of each other, alright? Cool runnings.